strange dog, which I'll spite and potentially vengeance, stare at me for 5 seconds too long, death, and anything related, like a running nose for instance. Dark corners, at homes or anywhere that the light does not even dare to venture. And so when I recently a teacher, she who must not be named, asked me to share some of the most vivid memories of my 70 years of existence on earth. I list out some, and again, playing the piano, that strange dog, video games which my characters can die a few hundred times and can still be revived by a snap of my fingers. So yes, death and dark corners, and people stare at me from dark corners, like many of you from the very back of the Olympia theater right now. And I quickly realized an unfortunate recurring theme that stood out like a sore thumb. Throughout my childhood and even until now, I've always got at least one or more strange or common type of fear. During my childhood, ghosts or the flying curtain in the wind, darkness or the back of my drawers, death or getting caught by the crocodile in my childhood game, crocodile getting on the land, are what I fear the most. When I grow up a little bit more, some of my childish fear are gone, or they are replaced by new fear such as, dare say, teachers, schools, studying, or homework. When I just entered my secondary school, I was severely surrounded by classmates who believed that hiding my belongings in dark corners or throwing my stuff around and around while I stood in the center, begging for their mercy, was a sport. That built up my mental fear, the fear to interact with other classmates, peers, and eventually other human beings. Before long, I came to see that my life was gripped by unknown fear. So I decided to use fire to play with fire, muster up the little courage in this frail frame to come up here and battle glossophobia, the fear of public speaking, the most common fear, even above death, to address the topic of today, fear. So what really is fear? Fear, triggered by the amygdala, is one of the most basic survival mechanisms. It's largely believed that fear is a response to a painful or horror experience in our lives, such as fear of dog. When you get bitten by a dog once, that's pretty common for everyone, right? Especially if this occurred during your childhood. And the fear can change due to the difference in the environment that you are living in and due to the difference in period of time. And I conduct a little research to prove this. I spent some time going to the countryside to ask some elderly people who live there. And here's what they answer to my questions about their fears. So, and from my research, for people who's of my grandma and grandpa age, so in their childhood, they are mostly fear of ghosts, death, hunger. And when they grow up, at the time that they faced the US and Vietnam War, some of their fear change, but some stay the same, such as fear of soldiers, aircraft, death, or the loss of family members. I also conduct the research with some group of millennials and Gen Z, and most of them show the same result. However, the fear may got even more complicated as time goes by. So the question is, can fear be cured? Or how we fight against our fear? Let's see how I fought my fear first. So first, I once got a fear of ghosts or mysterious things. I can still remember how myself as a young child became so frightened to sleep alone in a dark room. That night that I couldn't sleep, fearing when I closed my eye, there's someone that's gonna go and kidnap me right away. However, at some point of time after I grow up, I learned that those are just my imagination. And I learned that there's no monster secretly hiding under my bed that's gonna go and kidnap me when I sleep. And ultimately, when I learned to leave all those imagination behind, I feel no more reason to fear. And now I can still enjoy my peaceful sleep every night. Another time, I was very fear of making mistake. So when I just entered my secondary school, I was very bad at every single subject. So when I say bad, it means really, really bad. Sometimes my classmates will laugh at me when I say something wrong. Many more times, my opinions is different from the rest. And at times like this, I feel like this whole world is against me. So I decided to keep my opinions, my ideas to myself only. And because of this decision, a lot of time I regret because the decision that I made was silly. A lot of time, the idea that I chose not to speak up was actually the correct one. So after a while, I start to question myself. How can I overcome this? So I did took some action. Yeah, like many of you, or like most of the parents would do in this situation. I tried several life skill class that teach you how to become more confident, but none of them turned out to be a success. So when I was about to give up, then this idea came across my mind. Why should why should not I improve within myself first? So I studied like crazy, getting rid of all the time that I would normally spend to play video games on my iPad, and I managed to follow this routine for half a year, and spending thousands of hours of hard working, and it bear fruit. I eventually became better at every subject, and yeah, I found no more reason to fear of making mistake. I feel free to express my opinion because I have my knowledge to back them up, and that's how I fought my fear of making mistake. So in conclusion, before I leave, so I want to leave you with this idea. Fear is actually able to overcome. The problem is you have to understand the root cause of our own fear and then find the right way to solve it. And most importantly, you have to be very, very consistent. Some of the fear are pretty easy to overcome, but sometimes it's not. It might take you months, years, or even your whole life just to solve a single fear. Myself has gone through trials and errors, spending thousands of hours just to solve a single fear. And another question is this worth it? I believe yes. Fear itself works as an indicator. Sometimes it tells you what you should not do in order to protect yourself, and many more times it tells you the right thing to do. And if you can overcome this, you will, on the other hand, learn everything from your fear. Thank you.